So we have right now Jeremy. Let's give one more minute, and we have Sad. And
yeah, Sad's a friend of mine.
hello, Sad. How are you?
Hi. How are you doing, guys?
Yeah, good. And where are you based?
I'm in Greenville, South Carolina.
Looks like he's in heaven.
Excellent.
Michael Landon over there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, Michael Landon, very good.
Nice moving clouds there.
Yeah, I feel like Morgan Freeman there.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so let's get started, and we'll see who else joins. So thanks everyone for joining today. Today's topic is robotic process automation and infrastructure scalability, presented by ThinkAI and our partner Crown Castle. So that's me, Manish Bhadia. I'm the president here at ThinkAI, and Twitter or the LinkedIn symbol is there to connect with me. And I have Cedric as well. Cedric, go ahead.
Yes, and you can tell I need a new photo. I ended up getting a little bit of a beard here. I'm with Crown Castle Fiber, and I'll do my presentation a little bit, but I'll start by saying we're the biggest company you've never heard of. But you use us every single day when you pick up your cell phones. So I'll leave it at that, and we can go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. I did see, Crown Castle. Think I may have like 100, 200 followers on LinkedIn, and Crown Castle has 45,000.
Yeah.
Okay, so here is the agenda. Let's go around the introductions. Then we'll cover the about RPA presented by Yash. We'll introduce him soon before we start the presentation. And then we have Cedric giving us information about infrastructure scalability, and then we have Q&A. With that, I would say let's go around the room and then introduce ourselves. Stop sharing and then let Jeremy speak first. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Hey, thanks, Manish. This is Jeremy Nathan with JN Training, based out of Chattanooga, Tennessee. And I've owned this company for 5 years now. And I teach Excel, Power BI, just applications like SharePoint, OneDrive. And so I appreciate you all, Manish and Sarika, putting on these webinars. I've been learning a lot more about Teams through you all, and just getting more experience in webinars, of course. And I just, hope to keep coming back to these. Thanks for having me.
Let's go to Sid.
Hi, my name is Seth Samadli, and I live in Greenville, South Carolina, and I work for Tektronix Industries. Basically, we are in the power tools sector, and I've been, trying to attend to webinars, and Jeremy and we have been collaborating for a while. So, this is one of the links that he sent me. So that's right now I'm here. So thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, thanks for joining. Sarika, go ahead, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Sarika. I'm the project lead here at ThinkAI. I specialize in SharePoint and Teams. And lately, you've all been seeing me on the webinars, sharing and training on Teams and SharePoint. Nice to have you all. Look forward to an exciting webinar.
Yeah, and then with that, I want to introduce Yash Wakaria, who is a digital transformation enthusiast. That's his LinkedIn ID. And Yash has been in the industry for 20 years, working for companies like Cognizant, Johnson & Johnson, GE, and Genpact, and is very knowledgeable in the modern digital modernization and also RPA. With that, I'll let Yash introduce himself a little bit, and then we'll go to the presentation.
Sure, Manish. Thank you. Thank you for that introduction. Especially digital transformation is the area that I have been working since last few years, especially with Genpact. And RPA being one of the critical technology within digital transformation. That's what we are going to talk about today.
So Yash, let's start. Let's cover quickly about the agenda, and then you will let us. You will share your information. So we'll cover what is RPA, why RPA, use cases of it, how to get started, and then share some next steps. Right. So with that, let's say what is RPA. Yash, help us understand.
Sure, Manish. Thank you very much. As we talk about it is called robotic process automation, right? The first thing that comes to the mind is it a robot? But RPA is not a robot. As such, it's an automation, and automation has been there in industry for decades. It's not a new concept. It has been happening in most of the companies in pockets. Sometimes some of the business folks use it as a macro in the Excel. Some industries or IT professionals use it as a cron job, bad jobs. There has been automation in silos across the board. But what RPA does is it is taking it to the next level with holistic approach and taking it in a centralized control fashion. Having said that, so if we have to define robotic process automation, what is it? It is a software program that automates something of a process, either complete process or part of the process, generally a business process. It automates, primarily focuses on some of the repetitive actions which are rule-based, not exception-based. And it works across, this is the very critical point, it works across platforms. Individual automations may work on one application, two applications. RPA, when governed centrally, it works across platforms and applications. We will see that in the future slides. And few other industry nomenclatures, if you will, they are like rapid process automation or intelligent process automations. Now, just to make sure, clear the cloud, that it is not a walking or talking robot. And it is not a physical machine or computer or AI-based recognition or reply. So that's what defines RPA. And if we go to the next, Manish.
Sure. Thank you. And just wanted to highlight that it is interesting when you say about, it works across organizations. So that is very interesting use of it. So go ahead, Yash.
Yeah, that's the beauty of RPA, that it works across platforms. It is not dependent on one particular application or platform. And more importantly, why should an organization consider RPA? So RPA is one of the most critical technology that is enabling digital transformation today. And especially in COVID situation, digital transformation has been accelerated at totally different speed now. Most of the organizations wants to do the digital transformation that, they were on the boundary lines. Now, RPA is enabling that in a very, very immediate and quick fashion. It provides, in terms of, if you look at the business case, in terms of ROI, productivity, or cost savings, the business case is so compelling and it's totally no-brainer, and all the chief officers are including RPA in their strategy, in any plan for talk about. I have seen in the last couple of years it has grown quite fast. In 2020, 2021, we are probably talking about a growth rate of 30 to 40% in this field.
Excellent.
But if you look at a few benefits, I would like to hit 3 critical points that it immediately helps. First of all, it brings immediate and lasting benefits in terms of savings of time spent by people, quick deployment, and error avoidance. On the other hand, the other benefit of RPA is in most of the organizations, as we talked about, automations has been there. It has been present in, say, let's say IT department or business department. They have been doing in silos. What RPA does is it is bringing all those small, uncontrolled automations into a centrally governed policy. And it gives the organization total control on when do they want to change. It is not dependent on people or one particular machine that goes in and out. That's the control and power that it brings to the table. And especially it elevates human tasks, removing all the mundane tasks to the automated process and leaving only exception based, approval based, and where there is human brain is needed for thought process. That's how it elevates human tasks. So it is definitely very powerful in terms of helping each organization and taking this process to a next level. So if we talk about a little bit more detail in terms of what are the use cases for RPA, what are the low-hanging fruits that immediately can provide results. There are a lot of cases, many examples where RPA can help, but I would like to focus on the top areas where it is used in industry today and highly popular. Especially, there are many companies that has invested in automating. There are a lot of legacy platforms already available, and the investments that you want to preserve at the same time you want to move to the cloud.
Now joining.
RPA to do is, regardless of the platform, it helps us automate and implement our digital transformation strategies. Data integration across platforms, meaning let's say we have legacy platform and on the other hand we have another cloud-based application. How do you integrate? Instead of doing a development project for 2-3 months, automations can bring to the table the results in few hours and days instead of talking about weeks. Data entry is definitely one of those area where automation has been used quite some time. But now when you look at it, the last point is the most important point, where it automates multi-step business process with one single intervention. So in a multi-step process, let's say there is data entry, there is approval process, there is integration. All of them can be orchestrated with one single tool, centrally governed. These are the use cases. You can pick and choose which is yielding the most results and go with the strategy. So with that, we can pick up one example. This is explaining, you have an organization has invested in legacy older applications versus there is something, a cloud-based CRM application where some data is needed from legacy. You don't want to make sure, you don't want to eliminate the use of legacy. At the same time, make sure the cloud applications are interacting effectively with existing information. And that's where your RPA comes into the picture. Instead of doing a lot of integrations, separate projects, you can do it much faster and in much more controlled fashion. The beauty of this is there is no code. So you pick up, record the fetching of data activities from older applications, and this data is provided automatically 24/7 to the cloud application, which which is requiring this particular data. So eliminating, some of the steps, and so thereby saving the time. Eliminating in the sense code development, testing, and deployment, all those activities are although done in form of RPA, but they are as compared to any development project, they are very, very fast and saves a lot of time there.
Excellent.
So, we have gone through quite a bit of examples and details. Feel free to chime in or have any questions where a little bit more information is needed, or if it is not clear.
Well, I got a quick question. Can you do data migration using Power Automate, like to transfer data at certain times automatically?
Great question, Jeremy. So it is possible. The data transfer rate, if you simply compare it with a database script, let's say Oracle batch script, right? It can transfer data at a huge, very, very fast rate in, let's say, 1,000 records per second, right? Instead, when you do it with RPA, the data transfer rate is slower. Although it can work behind the scenes at a much faster, 24/7, because it's an automated process. However, the data entry is happening using UI, not backend. So the data transfer rate, you can think about in the range of 100 to 200 records per second, as compared to thousands of records per second that is possible in form of the backend transfer.
So really 10 times slower, because the actual use is on the flow or the execution steps than actual data transfer.
Right. So if you talk about very large databases, using RPA is not the right business case for that. But smaller size, where you don't need a whole lot of development, the record number of records and your business data that is needed are finite, meaning they are in thousands or 100,000s. Till that point, you can use RPA without any development, record the script, and let it do the data migration. Come next day, it is ready.
Excellent.
Okay, thanks. Yep.
Thanks, Jeremy. Yash, we got 2 more minutes, so let's complete and keep going. Thank you.
So, what is the next step here? What does Power Automate brings to the table? Especially, there are 2-3 critical points that for getting started with RPA. You need to decide the vendor, the tool. You need infrastructure to host where this centrally governed automation will be hosted. And Power Automate actually eases out these questions in a great way, because it comes along with Azure as your hosting environment, and Power Automate also comes with almost 275 plus connectors to various applications. So development and deployment is made absolutely easy with Power Automate. Most of the times in olden days, Excel macro was used in many departments as a automation tool in silos in just one form of application. Being Microsoft application, it comes natively integrated with the entire Office 365. That's one of the major advantage. So having the ecosystem of Microsoft is one of the biggest benefits, along with the cloud and infrastructure availability and the number of connectors that Microsoft has brought in. I've seen top tier tools in the industry. None matches with number of connectors and the facilities that Power Automate has provided. So there are a bunch of available RPA tools, and Power Automate is going to be, probably one of the top 3 pretty soon in that league. So with that, Manish, we would like to, see what are the next steps and any other questions that we have, which we can take at this point.
Sure. Let me just take 2 slides on the next steps. Power Automate RPA solution from Microsoft. They also call it IPA, right? Intelligent Process Automation, is ready to use. If you have Office 365, you may already have access to these templates. Example is you need a push notification from your email, and you want to save that to your OneDrive. Those kind of applications or the templates are already ready. Go to Microsoft Power Automate, and you should be able to get started. So that will be the next step for all of you. With that, we can take one question, and then we'll go to Cedric. Yeah.
Yes, question. So in terms of the connectors, we have seen that so far Power Automate has many connectors.
Yeah.
How about SAP system? Do you have connectors for SAP?
I have no idea. Yash, do you know? Or we can
Yes,
find out.
SAP connectors. So there are especially few connectors are already built in from Microsoft, and there are a lot of organizations also building specific connectors for certain processes. So SAP and larger ERPs connectors are available, and specific process related connectors are also available.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Thank you, Yash. With that, we'll move on to Cedric. Cedric, go ahead. I can see your screen, so that's good. Go ahead with your presentation.
Perfect. And Yash, there's some good things that you're bringing up here that tie very well to what we talk about. So I started this by saying Crown Castle is probably the biggest company you've never heard of, but you use this every single day when you pick up your phone, and I'll explain why. And from a size standpoint, we're a $6 billion organization. We trade on the S&P 500 at about $160 a share, about $70 billion in revenue, and been doing this for a long, long time. But what is it that we do? And I'll kind of explain with this simple illustration of the holiday lights. So if you can imagine that the holiday lights are there and it's powered by a cord, and that cord provides all the power and connectivity, et cetera, et cetera. What we do is we're the largest owner of what we call shared communication infrastructure, in that we own cell towers. So if I replace those bars or those bulbs with cell towers, and we replace the power cord with fiber, you are now driving fiber into what supports the companies like T-Mobile and AT&T and Verizon. So we basically have 4 customers, and those are, or actually 3 now, which are all the carriers. So the carriers say, hey, we want to go ahead and build connectivity and provide wireless services in this market. They contact us, we go out there and we provide them with fiber, we provide them with the cell towers or small cell towers on the side of buildings, whatever it might be, and then we lease it back, and that's pretty much how we make our revenue. Well, where do we play? Because that's important to know. Where we have large organizations that are near our fiber, we replace those cell towers essentially, in theory, with their buildings. So whether it's a hospital or whether it's a 12-story or 30-story or a 50-story building, we provide them with scalable private networking, perfect for bandwidth-hungry applications. So some of the applications that you might be working with today, or your clients might be working with, they need to have encrypted network connectivity. We can connect you to the cloud. So we're very much a direct connecting partner with Azure. So Azure provides you with that cloud connectivity, but it's typically on a public network. We can provide that on an encrypted network. We can provide connectivity to data centers, and we can provide you either unused or dark fiber, or we can manage the fiber lit itself. This will give you an example of just Southern California. This is about 9,000 route miles, all that blue. And if I were to kind of zoom in, you would see the actual cities and so on. But this is about 9,000 route miles of fiber that we actually own and operate and manage. And so we're not a local exchange carrier. We own the assets. We own the towers itself, and so we own the property, the fiber that's in it. So we're actually a real estate investment trust company, and we provide a couple of different options because we own our own services. We don't have a local exchange carrier relationship. We're not a carrier. We have a lot of we remove a lot of the limitations and the costs that are involved in your standard typical solutions. And so we provide solutions, and one of those solutions might be a layer 1 encrypted dark fiber connection. Again, we provide the ring, and we can go ahead and give you a layer 1, which means that we are going to essentially provide you with customer controlled connectivity. So we give you a piece of dark fiber, you put equipment on either end of that dark fiber, and you at that point in time run your own ISP. You become an ISP as opposed to us. If that works for you, and it typically works for larger organizations like hospitals and college campuses and so on. So for the folks that are here in Orange County, customers, it would include things like Chapman University, UCI, the medical centers, SoFi Stadium, et cetera. We have large IT organizations that they can support and do their own thing. If not, we can provide you with layer 2 ring connectivity either by Ethernet, Wave, or direct internet access. And as I mentioned, we can bring you directly into a data center, one of 60 California data centers. We can go to Las Vegas. We can go all around the country. And by the way, for the folks in North Carolina and maybe other places in South Carolina and Tennessee, we actually are a national organization. So we have about 110,000 cell towers and small cell towers that we manage, with about 75 to 90,000 route miles of fiber throughout the country. So we can provide you with a layer 2 ring. We can also provide you with a hub and spoke environment if that's more your liking. We can also provide you with a mesh network of delivery, combining both hub and spoke as well as mesh. And the final thing we can do is we can provide you with a future-proof network, which could include things like Ethernet, Wave, direct internet access, or line of sight fixed wireless access, and even SD-WAN, where for those remote locations. So big picture there. We are again about 40,000 towers, about 70,000 small cell towers, and it's actually about 90,000 route miles of fiber. But that's important to know because the infrastructure is key to be able to support things like cloud migration or data integration. Our clients will be large organizations, as mentioned, Netflix, Disney, large companies that are pushing a lot of data, which may or not be on the folks that are on the phone today. But it's important to know that because you could start off in an organization where you've got a 50 meg circuit that you're using, or you're supporting a client with a 50 meg circuit, and that carrier that you're working with may only go up to, let's say, a gig. Well, as we know, organizations develop and grow. What happens after you go to a gig? Where do you go from there? Do you have to forklift your entire organization in order to be able to, keep up with scalability? Or do you come to someone like us, which can go from, 100 megs to 10 gigs, and then we can combine those 10 gigs to make it 100 gigs if you wish. So we're not the perfect fit for everybody. We understand that. That's not you. If you're looking for email or something like that, it's probably not us. But if you're working with clients that are getting large, they're getting scalable, they're remote locations, and they're looking most importantly for an encrypted, private, secure network, we might be a good option there. And if we're already on Azure, for instance, let's say you have an Azure opportunity like this one here, and you're running on a public network, that's great. But it's better if we can then go ahead and not change Azure, but just create a connectivity that's on an express network so that you have a private encrypted connection to Azure, and it doesn't change anything. So I'll take on any questions. I know we have some time. I know I threw a lot at you at this point in time. There's my contact information, but I'm more than happy to answer any questions regarding this.
Thank you, Cedric. Anybody has any question? And I see some more people joining, so we'll go around introduction also in a bit. But any questions, anybody for Cedric or Yash? First Cedric.
I think you guys must be set very well for 5G. I guess that is one of the key next bet that's coming along, because I think this is the core infrastructure that you guys are laying out. So
yeah, absolutely right. So we are working on towers as we speak. We probably do about 100 construction sites a day to get ready for 5G in many areas. So when you hear companies are saying, hey, they're the first in 5G, or they're rolling out 5G, you can't have 5G unless you have, number one, the radio, and number two, the fiber that connects it, right? The power. So we provide the power, we provide the tower, and then of course, a partner of ours would provide the actual radio that would support Verizon or AT&T or T-Mobile. But that's why we believe, quite frankly, that our stock climbed from $120 a share to about $160 a share overnight when T-Mobile and Sprint announced their merger, not because one was better than the other, but because nothing was being done. So if they merged, then they have to upgrade all those towers. If they didn't merge, then they'd have to upgrade their individual towers to support their 5G platform. So we were in pretty good shape either way, and that's what we've been waiting for. When it clicked, our stock went up to 160 something immediately because we represent the future.
Yeah, no, I think you aptly said in the beginning that this is the largest unknown, company that's out there. Now I just started looking at the stock and all. It's all makes sense. I think you guys are in a pretty good position over there. So when these guys say, "Hey, we are the first one on the 5G," it's really you laying out the groundwork there, and they're just coming in and putting their stamp on it, I guess.
And that's a fair statement. We don't provide the connectivity to the end user. We just simply power the transport, right? So we're a transport provider. We don't sell hardware. We don't sell on my end. I don't sell firewall. I don't do any managed services. I'm not going to manage your routers, et cetera, et cetera. We're just going to provide you transport, and we're going to provide you transport to either a data center or to the cloud. And we're going to connect your buildings by either Ethernet, dark fiber, or wave. Those are the things that we're going to do at that point in time. We're very simple. So we don't compete with a whole lot of folks out there except for perception. And that's where the challenge comes into play. And quite frankly, like I said in the beginning, we're not fit for everybody. But if you're a college or a university, oh, and by the way, if you're off net, so let's say we don't have, your building isn't right on our net line. We will build and construct from your location directly into our splice point. And we typically pick up the cost for that. We roll it into a monthly service charge. So we, and once you're on our network, when you think about it, other carriers use kind of a ring network where the rings never touch. So if fiber was cut on their ring, they would literally have to go find another carrier to support your services, or they'd be shut down for a while. We're in a mesh ring, so think about the Olympic rings where they touch each other. So if one of our rings gets cut for whatever reason, it just jumps over to one of our other rings. And that's again, the kind of client that is really understanding what we do is the one that a CEO or a CIO looks at this and says, we're trying to future-proof our network. That makes sense. We're trying to make sure we have consistent reliability. We want to have diversity. The reality is that many companies think that they're running on a diverse network today. But if they sit down and take a look at their fiber map, they'll find out that they're running on the same network as all the other carriers are. We can come into dual entry. We can come into different paths because we own the fiber and we construct it specifically to that client. So we're a boutique company in that we don't take something off the shelf and say it's priced at X. We literally have to construct, design. That's why it takes about 6 months to a year to really develop the right platform for us. And that's why we have a niche product and a niche service.
Yeah,
thanks. Thanks, Harit. Anybody else has any question? Otherwise, I have 2 more slides, including our raffle thing. So just a little bit on ThinkAI, pretty much software development on modern technologies, cloud on Microsoft, custom application, integration, and support. So you will be entered into the May month of Xbox raffle once you fill in the survey. And where is the survey link? It's here. Also, Sarika, did you put it on the chat, the link? If not, then let's put it. Otherwise, you can scan the code and you should be able to fill in the raffle.
I just did.
Yeah. Otherwise, you can also type the URL. So you're putting in the chat, right?
Yes,
Sarika?
yes.
Okay, perfect. With that, I'll stop sharing and we'll go around the introduction also because I know some people joined late. So with that, let's go ahead. Anshuman, go ahead, introduce yourself. 30 seconds.
Hey, thanks, Manish. Hi, this is Anshuman Sinha. I run a talent management company called Optism Global. It is an executive search firm. Other than that, I'm the president of TIE SoCal. It is the world's largest organization for entrepreneurs. Manish is one of our charter members over there. More information we can put in the chat, and you can go to our website. I think my 30 seconds are over. Back to you, Manish.
Yeah, thanks, Anshuman. Dhaval, go ahead. You are on mute, Dhaval.
Hello.
Okay, we'll come back to Dhaval. Harit, go ahead, introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, so I run a small startup called Selfin Technologies. We actually, have services and products. We are focusing now going forward more on products. It actually automates finance and accounting. So if you have account receivables and account payables, we have a fantastic solution that can plug in. It usually sits on top of your ERP, what we call system of records, and what we will is system of engagement. A few startups before that got sold into a few other companies. This is the third gig, so keeping the fingers crossed. Thanks.
And Yash is the one who introduced me to Harit, and we have done some business and great team he has at Selfin. So Harit, thanks for joining. Good to see you here. Ricardo.
Sorry, no audio. No microphone.
It's working. It's working.
No,
Go ahead.
not working.
Nope, we can hear you.
Yeah, you can hear me? You can hear me? Oh, wow. I don't know how that's working.
That's okay.
I tried. Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, hello, everyone. I have a small consulting practice in areas of business development, and marketing, sales, internal innovation, and strategy for companies that want to grow domestically and internationally. We do a lot of work with Latin America. And part of that is helping small and mid-sized businesses sort of outgrow the QuickBooks into more robust solutions. I partner with a company out of India called Focus.net that has a very affordable and customizable ERP. Also with a company out of Switzerland called OneClick that does application provisioning to the cloud. And yeah, that's sort of in the process of developing that practice. I'm also a member of IMCP.
Yeah, thanks, Ricardo, for joining. 516-582-4520. I see a number. You can go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi there, this is Dawal Kapadia. I'm looking at the slides on the computer, so that's why I'm signed in two places.
Okay.
I provide fractional CFO services to businesses, so I help businesses with their financial strategy as well as business strategy. And I know we all have to be more efficient going forward, and as we climb out of this recession. So that's why today's presentation was so interesting and so timely. So thank you very much for having it. And I look forward to more presentations like this in the future. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks. With that, I would like to thank Cedric, our presenter, and Yash. If nobody has any question, we are done. We will announce the winner using email. So you'll get the Amazon gift card in the email. Anybody has any other question? Otherwise, we can wrap up.
Thank you, Manish, for putting this on. Appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks, Cedric. Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks.
Thank you for letting me know my microphone worked.
Yeah, it
Thank
was
you
working.
all for joining.
Yes, Sarika, back to you.
Thank you all for joining. That was a great presentation. Thanks, Cedric. Thanks, Yash. Thanks, Manish. Thank you all. See you next time.
Thank you. See you. Bye-bye. Bye, Manish.
Yeah.
Thank
Okay,
you.
bye.